Oh, I think we're live.
Yep. We're live.
We are live. Let's see. Get my screen all prettied up. There we go. All right. So I want to introduce everybody to a friend of mine. My guest, her name is Joy DeBerve, and this is her Instagram. You can check her out there. I always intentionally mispronounce it because I know she's gonna get mad. Her name is Adrienne. Wait, what language is that in?
French.
Oh, so you speak French?
There was a point in time I wanted to learn French. I had studied like 6 years of French, and then I was like, I'm not really using this. Let me learn Spanish. So then I went on and learned Spanish, speak that fluently, forgot all the French, the little bit of French that I did have. And now I forgot all the Spanish I had because I learned Portuguese. Well, I didn't forget it, but it's just a little too much for my mind to try to separate the two since they're so similar.
Oh, look at you being all classy in Rio. Because that's what Rio is known for, classy.
The class. This is Rio class.
Classy.
That was actually a good picture. I think we should dive into that picture in the caption.
We'll talk about that in a minute because I got to tell you, you kind of broke my heart the other day when I called you, and then I was like, wait, where are you? And you're like, America? What are you doing there? Why would you be there?
It was time.
We ended up having a little bit of a discussion. I asked you if you wanted to share it with people and kind of get into it because I always say that there's a phrase, Brazil is not for everyone. But I don't know if that's true because Brazil is such a huge country, and your experience in Rio and my experience in Sao Paulo were a bit different. But let's do it this way. How long were you in Rio?
I was in Rio for 4.5 years.
4.5 years. So right. Before we get to the end, start at the beginning. Like, what brought you there? Because I know what I want to say as to the leaving part, but what brought you there?
All right, so since we're on the live show, I'm giving the long version. So long version is when I went to learn Spanish, I did a foreign exchange program I did the Dominican Republic when I was 15. But when I chose the Dominican Republic, it was really hard. I really wanted to go to Brazil, because, it's Brazil. There's always had this allure, I wanted to do Brazil, but then I thought, again, just like with French, when am I going to use this Portuguese, in the GC area? Spanish is far more functional. So after I got my experience in the DR, I was like, now I'm ready for my next experience. I want to go do Brazil. So after I did my exchange program at 15, I thought about doing a gap year volunteer program for Brazil. But then I said, no, let me just go to college. I'll do study abroad. Got to college. My grades weren't so hot. So there was no study abroad was out of the question. So no, I didn't do Brazil then. And then after I graduated, I said, okay, I'm going to try to get me a job that will send me abroad, let me travel. Last position I was working at, I was at the International Monetary Fund. They got their locations all over the world. And from what I heard, that everybody travels because, to do their missions. But of course, I came there after that economic crisis of 2010 and a lot of stuff got cut out. So people at my level were not allowed to travel anymore. It wasn't in the budget. So I said, okay, what am I going to do now? That's how I found the Department of State. So I thought maybe I can go and try to work for the Department of State as an ambassador or like a consulate worker. So I met up with the diplomat in residence in DC, told me all about how to get the position, sign up for the alerts on your phone, did all that. And I was waiting for the alerts, and the alert came, and I was in Dominican Republic. So I don't know if you know how USA Job works, but that whole week.
No.
Okay, so they only have jobs open for a certain period of time, and once it's off, the site is off. The site is done. So while I was traveling, I was like, okay, I've done USA Jobs before. I already had my resume uploaded. I'll just land home, just do click, click, boom, boom, submit. That's it. But this particular job, they don't accepted my pre-uploaded resume. I had to do their resume builder. So it took me quite a few hours. Then there was a survey, 100-question survey, plus a statement of interest of why I wanted this position. So once the clock struck midnight, the application didn't get in. And I said, okay, I'll just wait. There'll be openings again. I waited a whole another calendar year for another opening. and I was in Jamaica. So I missed that application too. And so I finally was like, you know what? I'm not going to keep missing an opportunity. I know where I want to go. I know what I want to do. I would have preferred to have done like something a little bit more secure. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to take my own, desires, future into my own hands. And I'm just going to go for it. The worst that can happen is I go home or I die. But, I'm not thinking I'm going to die. I said the worst that can happen is I go home. So save my money, plan for 6 months. Plans for Salvador. Whole entire year I was planning. I planned for Salvador. And, once I got closer to the date of me leaving, I got nervous. I already had a friend that was in Rio studying jiu-jitsu. She had been there for 3.5 years.
Yay, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, she was studying with the great Fernando Terere at his
Really?
Yes. So she's actually running his social project right now, the Terere Kids Project. And she has her own little spin-off, Favela Jiu-Jitsu. It's a little plug for her too. So if you ever heard of Favela
Hold
Jiu-Jitsu,
on. Let me tell me her school, and I'll put it on the screen for people. What is the name?
Favela Jiu-Jitsu. That's her NGO, and so that's where she basically highlights a lot of the talent from the communities. There's so many kids with talent in Rio and Sao Paulo, even in Angola. She posts the talent, does a lot of things to raise funds for them, and she gets these kids to travel to Europe, to the United States to compete, because these would get these kids opportunities and kind of keep them out of trouble. Yes. So this is her.
Inglês or só Portuguese?
So she has it in English and she has it in Portuguese. She just got the site done. That's actually Cantagalo. That's where Fernando Terere is from, the favela where he's from, and that's where she was living. And so she said, hey, listen, Adrian, I got a place in Cantagalo, the favela. I got a place already. You don't have to worry about, paying rent for the first couple months. I'm here. I'll help you with your Portuguese, try to hook you up with jobs and help you meet people. So of course, me being scared, a couple months before I was leaving, that's her right there actually on the left. But me being scared, I was like, all right, you know what? She kind of answered all my problems. It was around the time the Olympics started. I wanted to get some Rio experience too. I bartended. I was like, okay, I can get some Rio experience, make some money in Rio. Then she's going to head out. She's heading out of Brazil. She's going to go back home for a little bit. I would keep the place for her, maintain it. And then when she came back, I was going to tag out, head to Salvador. That was the original plan. But I stayed. I stayed in Rio.
So let's do this then. Well, first, where was she from originally?
She's originally from Pennsylvania. And funny, I met her in the Dominican Republic. That's how we met each other at 15. I met her when I was 15 in the Dominican Republic. And, there's not a lot of minorities that do study abroad. And, so it was easy for us to kind of click. It was really easy for us to click with each other. So after that 1-year program, I think we would catch up with each other every other year or something, just to send a, hey, what's up? Are you alive? How's life going? And, it turns out that she had moved to DC, where I'm from, to go to, I think she started grad school there. Not sure. She moved to DC. And so we didn't finally catch up until I was at the IMF at that time. It was 2014. And she was like, hey, I'm going to move to Brazil. I was like, this is what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to do this. And she's like, I'm just going. I'm like, are you crazy? And so she's another catalyst. And where I'm just watching her living my dreams. Why aren't you living those dreams? I was trying to look for that right thing, and that never came up. So I was like, you know what? I can do it.
Well, I'm glad you realized there is never a perfect time.
Yeah, there wasn't.
When we're done talking, I'd like for you to make a warm introduction for me. I want to talk to her.
Sure.
I want her here.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah. I do want to admit something about my own jiu-jitsu. My jiu-jitsu got worse when I came to Brazil, and I'll tell you why. Everything in Brazil was so awesome and interesting, I started slacking off on, because Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a cruel mistress. You're either in the game or you're not. You can be a part-time painter, and your painting might suffer, but it's not that big of a deal. You might be a part-time pianist. Your piano playing might suffer. If you are not faithful to your jiu-jitsu, you're going to get strangled every day by all your friends. And even worse, even worse, you're not a good training partner for them anymore because you're not keeping your game as good as it could be. So what good are you to the other guys who need a good, solid training partner?
Yeah.
And I started, and then you know what? I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm getting back in the game. I have some great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches out here. I'd gone to a couple different schools, and I had finally gotten my businesses to the point where I could vanish for 2 to 3 hours in the evening because my businesses run themselves mainly. And COVID hit, and yay.
No more training.
Jiu-Jitsu, it might take a decade for the level of Jiu-Jitsu to get back where it is now because Jiu-Jitsu is very, you're grabbing each other and literally choking each other unconscious and trying to break each other's arm. It's very personal. You can't do that during a COVID break. So without having good training partners and without having these big classes with 20 other guys, some tall, some short, some big, some little, to learn how to train and fight in those different situations, you can only do so many drills. Like I have my own tatame here in my apartment that I was doing my kettlebell exercises in when all the quarantine was happening. But jiu-jitsu by yourself is actually depressing because, as you might know, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu community, it's very familial.
Yeah, they're very, it's like that's a part of my, big part of my first, like a lot of my Brazil experience was based off of who I was around. And so when I first moved there, that was my jiu-jitsu Brazil period. And so they're like really, it's a lifestyle. I've never did jiu-jitsu, but I was around a lot of people who did it. I was following her around to like a lot of these social projects in different communities. I've sat in on trainings. Why? I have nothing else to do. Why not? So I was like
trying every day to get you into a gi.
They tried, but I was like, not quite there yet. But I watch you. Like I will cheer you on. I went to competitions. Like I did all of that stuff. I do recognize like jiu-jitsu is 100% a lifestyle. Like there was nobody that was just half in it. Like they
you can't be half in the game.
There was none of that. Like I was even me like being the bad influence. I'm like, hey, let's go explore. Let's go get some kaipies. And she's just like, I gotta make weight. No.
Nope. When you in the game, you're in the game. So I will say to you, give me just a quick 60-second description. What are jiu-jitsu bros like? Like, I want to hear from your mouth, just a complete outsider woman. What are jiu-jitsu guys like?
So here's the difference. One little thing I found very interesting with jiu-jitsu people, there's the Brazilians who practice jiu-jitsu are very different from the foreigners who practice jiu-jitsu. So the Brazilians who practice jiu-jitsu, they seem to have a little bit of a balance of a lifestyle. They have, I mean, not to say that they're all out there all the time. They're absolutely not. Like they do commit to it, but they have personality. They're a lot of fun. I've noticed that the people who come from like, to say like the US, for example, I guess they're typically like the karate nerds. They're the ones that didn't play football. Like they're like, well, I want to play karate. Those are the ones. So you could kind of tell like they're like quirky versus like the Brazilians who practice it. Like they're not compromising cool, what the standard of cool is. Like they're still that and also do it, But yeah.
I'll tell you why that is. For a lot of Americans, I have so many friends that even before I came to Brazil would save every penny they had all year. And as soon as we were had a college break, that 3 months, they would just pack a bag, not bags, because they wasn't doing shit else. Mm-hmm. They packed straight down to Brazil and for 3 months was doing nothing but training every single day.
I had a friend who did that. Who came back and stayed at the house too. He was training. Got black belt there too while he was there too, but he did that every 3 months. Every summer he came 3 months, and that was it.
They come back. Jiu-jitsu da vida, porra!
Oh.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Talking about. But yeah, and that's the thing. It can get you, and especially in the United States. Training in the United States is the way fighters train in America and the way fighters train in Brazil is very different because in America, it's familial, but nowhere on the close of the tribalism that jiu-jitsu communities have. I mean, I know people that have had to really have a sit-down conversation with their coach about what patch they were going to wear when they went back to the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Let me check. But yeah, that's that.
I wonder why that is.
Hold on. There we go. All right. And so it's one of those. it's one of those situations, you know. But getting away from that, so you went through your jujitsu bros period. Did you ever date a jujitsu guy?
No, never.
No? There are two out there.
I hung out with I tell you, I hung out with a lot of them, but they were, again, like I said, like in the US, it's still kind of like nerds. They're cool people. I like them a lot, but I guess they're never like, they're not people that are like very forward, if you put it that way. They're not forward. They're not direct. They're not assertive. They'll still hang out with you and everything. They're super cool, but I don't know if they're like shy. I think that's also that shyness too, but they would never like approach me like now the Brazilian ones, on the other hand, like they scare me. So
really?
yeah, they're Brazilian men. They're Brazilian men. That doesn't change. Versus, you know, going back like people who come from like other countries, like say the US, because that's what my experience was. Like they're a little bit more. I'm like a little bit more on the reserve side, you know. I don't see them being very direct or aggressive with females.
That's a different, that's a different conversation we'll have to have later. So after your jiu-jitsu period in Rio, which you were living in a favela, which you can keep that action. I tell people all the time, I didn't live in poverty in America. I'm not doing it in somebody else's country. The other so after that, how long were you there and where'd you go next?
I was still after the favela or after my jiu-jitsu period?
Jiu-jitsu period.
After the jiu-jitsu period, the timing worked out perfectly. The guy that comes there for 2 months to study jiu-jitsu and go back to the US, it was around the time he was about to leave. We were just going for a walk and I saw a little event. I was like, hey, look, can you like stay with me like while I get a drink? He doesn't drink. I was drinking. I was like, let me go get a drink. And so we went and ordered a drink from somebody, and I bumped into like this other girl that was there, and she just so happened to be American, and her boyfriend was Brazilian from the favela, and he was like selling drinks at the time. So we started talking to her, and I was like, hey, this is perfect. Like I met another American. She's fluent in Portuguese. My Portuguese was trash at that time. She knows the area. She had been in the favela for at least 2 years before then. I said, this is perfect. My friend's about to leave. I'm going to hang out with her. So that introduced me to my favela period. So I did everything up in the favela for a few months.
So what's the allure of, and by the way, one thing I'm proud of, the reason you and I can have this conversation, I've never seen you do what I call poverty porn.
Yeah.
There are some people who love to go to places where there are those who don't have the same situation that they have and just take pictures and say, look at them. You know, you live there, so it wasn't like you were a tourist, but at the same time, what's the draw of living in a favela?
Well, for me, number one, like I came here to change my life. Well, geez, I'm not there anymore. I went to Brazil to change my
life. Kicking in, isn't it?
I know. I went to Brazil to change my life. I wanted something drastically different. One of the things is I clocked out of life. I had clocked out of life in the US. I was just going through the motions because everything was predictable, didn't have to anticipate anything. It was very straightforward. Like I didn't need to pay attention. So being there, I don't know what it was. It was so different. It was stimulating to me to be that connected to my environment because everything was that much more different. Then also there was the other aspect of like, okay, maybe my life may or may not be in danger if I don't pay attention. So and me having to pay attention to the little nuances of the favela to make sure I was safe, it brought me that.
We gotta address something real quick. I like to call this the bullshit rock. Will you explain this to people?
There's a little piece of land right underneath of it. Like it looks good. Your angle's good.
Everybody goes there and takes this picture like I'm falling off a cliff, but she could put both of her legs down and she would be touching the ground, but you can't see it under the rock. So guys will do muscle poses and start doing chin-ups under it.
Or one arm.
And it's like, really? Really?
Listen, let people listen. For those who, if you know, then if you know, you know. If you don't know, don't ruin it for the other people. Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I just wanted to change my life. I wanted something totally different. I enjoyed it. Was a challenge. And again, it's not for everybody, but I enjoyed it because the beauty of it is like me having to pay attention to every single thing. I was just like, wow, the sky is really blue today. You know, wow, the birds are chirping. Like I was so much more connected to my environment versus where in DC I was just kind of just going through the moments. Get off the train, walk to the office, wasn't paying attention to anything or anybody. Why? Because I didn't need to. You know, I enjoyed being connected to my environment that much.
Well, you know what? Brother Howard Cooper just said something. Let me put this on the screen because I always forget to remind folks. The way that this channel grows, the conversations we get to have, you have to like, share, subscribe, comment. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud to say people have been doing that. This channel has been just really going crazy, and I appreciate that, and I love you guys. Also, I'm going to put this on the screen for Howard. Apparently, this is happening. I'm thinking that's why the super chat isn't working. We'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. So you were in your I want to live poor phase for a while. Okay.
Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and also, but me being a part of the community, it's like, you know, I just, you know, people, you form real relationships with these people, and it just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, oh, I just want to see it, or I just want to take pictures. I'm like, these are people's lives, you know. You wouldn't like it if somebody else just came around, kind of oogling your lifestyle. Is like, oh my God, wow, they live like this. It's so awkward, and like, you know, these are people.
Yeah, they're people.
I was never into all of that. I barely post any pictures of up there just out of respect. Like if I was up there and I had a, you know, drinking or doing something, then yeah, but it wasn't like, wow, look at this. This is where I am type of thing. I mean, I could post a lot about, like, there's beautiful sides that I love and respect of it. And I would always, if I did show the side that I love, but, you know, of course it comes with its own hand of, you know, host of problems, you know, with living there as well. And again, it's not for everybody, but of course people anticipate these things. So it's like, they want to see these things to be like, wow. Like I had a student who knew that I lived in a favela. That's an interesting thing about me teaching. You know, they get access to a Black person that they would never have. And then also they start kind of saying their little crazy stuff. But they were like, I don't know why you live in a favela. I just don't understand. I'm like, because I just think it's ugly. I'm like, well, have you seen my house? No, I haven't seen your house. I want to see a picture of it. So I sent him a picture of it. No, I showed him a video of it just for him to kind of shut his mouth about the things that he says, the perception that they have. And he thought I was having one of those exposed brick houses, like the inside was exposed brick, poor lighting, murky and damp. Wasn't any of that. I actually had a decent sized kitchen, a pretty good sized bathroom, had a living room, bedroom, small place, but it wasn't all that he anticipated. So I like, when me teaching, I get to change people's perceptions on things little by little. I mean, there by no means will he be like, oh, I want to go live in one, but at least it's not like, oh, this person's from a favela, they're living in some danky dark hole somewhere.
Well, Brother Craig Washington had a quick question. He said favela tours, and we can leave that as an open-ended question. How did you deal with that?
I didn't listen. I know people do them, and I pretty much left it to people who are from those favelas. So if they want to do that, if they show what they want to, and they can profit off of that, that's fine. Because I understand everybody has their own little hustles, but I think it's very, very much a touchy situation. There are other people who I'm not really into, like, say, as a social, like an organization, like for the street, to bring up people just to take a tour of it, you know. But unless it's like somebody who's really invested into the community and they're able to, you know, profit or also help each other with it, then that's their business. But I don't think it's appropriate. Like for me, I don't think it was like really appropriate. I didn't invest in the community like that. I was there. They knew I was there. They respected me that I was there, but I didn't invest in them to feel like I had a place to go and profit off of them.
Well, here's where we are, and this is kind of a pivot, I would call it. When you moved into your apartment, into that community, what was your, how would I put it? What are the requirements that you needed to live there?
Literally none. Just be prepared to answer some questions though. Like at first, if I'm a girl, they're not going to ask me any questions. But by then I had moved in with my friend, and my friend had been there for some like at least a year or two, I think. She had been bouncing around in there within a year or two. So they're totally familiar with her. And she like goes hard for those kids in the community that train at the social projects. So people kind of know her already for her and how she's like made contributions and really helped out a lot of people. So for me, that was like my automatic pass. If there was ever going to be an issue, like I was automatically okay. Now there was another person. Now this is an interesting story. There were two other people in the house with me. One of them was from Germany, and the other one was the guy from New York that I got along well with. So the one from Germany, he is actually of Turkish descent. So he had like dark hair, kind of fair skin. He didn't look very obviously gringo, but he did look like he didn't belong there. Like he looked like he could have easily been like a Brazilian that didn't belong there. So every time he came in, he got stopped. Like, who are you? Where you come from? Why are you here? Lift up your shirt. What do you got on you? And he was just like, oh, I just live right there. He stayed there, but he felt very uncomfortable because they all asked him if he was a cop, no matter how long he had been there, no matter how.
So here's where I am. And this is where, where we had a bit of that other conversation. You lived in a place that required no verification, that was literally policed by the gangs. If I'm saying something, wait, hold on. First, hello. And I want to say, first, let me say this to LK. Let's do this. Everything we said up until now, you can go back from the beginning and watch. Right now, we're going into the pivot. And what we did was hear her story. For Tada, she taught English. Do you believe that your experience would have been different? And I'm not talking out of school here because we know where it's going. Would your experience have been different if, and by the way, this is unashamedly, partially showing people what I do, but would your experience have been different if you had gone through the paperwork, had an actual expert relocation situation with me or another company that gave you the paperwork you needed, bank accounts you needed, and the things that would allow you to live anywhere? Even if you'd chosen to live there, would that have influenced your stay?
Yeah, because the reason why I left, it's not even that I wanted to like leave. I just miss my family. And because I played my cards, the risky way of like going under the table and just camping out here, I kind of just got put into positions like either I'm here or I'm not because of the fine situation. And so because I, played the fine, did the fine thing, and I kind of waited it out.
Tell them the fine game. Tell them about it.
So it's like when you come to Brazil, they're not going tourist visa, you get your 90 days, you can extend it up to another 90, 180 days per calendar year. Well, not calendar year, from when you entered Brazil. And so I just decided to overstay it. They're not going to come looking for you. It didn't really inhibit much of my life. I was still able to get a CPF. I still have a bank card. My students transfer me money and everything. I can't say there's too much that I wasn't able to do that maybe like parcelar, like do like those layaway payments or whatever. That was like one of the things I may have been interested in doing. But other than that, I just like, all right, I took my chances. Like, only thing that I'm hoping to aim for is a way to come in and out. But other than that, I didn't seem like it was going to block me from anything. So I just anticipated I just anticipated get there, play, live, life will happen. I was there 4.5 years. There's a lot of people who come here, they go meet somebody, they enter into a stable union. And that's basically like showing to the government that you're in a formal relationship with somebody. It's just short of marriage.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's a good idea to find somebody and I'll just get married and that'll be, look, I'm gonna have a
problem?
whole.
Is that like? I didn't say I came here to get married, but I anticipated like at my age. And like, I'm a female, I'm a single female. I date, and when I usually date, I kind of date long term. So I didn't think that like I would come here and like my dating would just totally dry up. Like I didn't want like say I planned for this to happen. I'm gonna come here and get married, but I just anticipate I'm a single female and I date and I get in serious relationships. More than likely this will happen. And it just absolutely didn't happen. So now I'm just like, all right, well, what are you gonna do? Huh?
I wasn't supposed to laugh when you said nothing happened, but here's what I'm
Yo, it's okay. Like I totally
Roy, now this is something you want to listen to. Here's where I am. I feel like not enough people are as honest as you are, because I get those phone calls from people who say, listen, I came to Brazil, I enjoyed it, and then I'll tell you something common I get. A friend of a friend introduced me to a businessman. This businessman needs somebody who does what I do. And they said, great, I'd love to contract you to do this for my company or even hire you full time. Show me your paperwork. And they say, what paperwork? And they're like, well, I don't have, oh, you're not in the country legally? No, I can't hire you then. I have clients who call me saying, you know what, I live in Brazil, my life is in Brazil, but I've got to go back to the United States because, I don't know, my tax check got mailed there and I got to pick it up, whatever the reason is. But I know once I leave and they see that I was overstayed my visa, they're going to fine me. By the way, did you leave with a fine?
Oh yeah, I got hit with a fine.
So when they left, tell them what it's like when you leave. You tell them, not me.
All right, so I'll tell you my particular experience. I had to get a new passport because my passport expired while I was here. So I was really banking on another old system attached your coming and going to your passport number, not to your name. So I was hoping with me getting this new passport, it's like clean slate, possibly, maybe possibly. So I showed them the passport, it went into the system and they just like, it says you've been here for 1,547 days. And I'm just like, oh, that's crazy. I tried to get through it. I was like, oh, that's crazy. It's like, so what did you get her?
You tried to bluff a Border Patrol agent. This is not poker at their grandmother's table. You tried to bluff
I was like,
Patrol.
Listen, it's happened before. It's doable. Like it's Brazil. There's jeitinhos for everything. Like,
but you know what? Here's the thing: a lot of people forget that shit doesn't always work for foreigners. Yeah, if you live there, you can kind of hey ha, but for foreigners,
I do know people. I know foreigners who've had little jeitinhos and gotten away. They've been here for years, went back, nothing.
Those people are the exceptions, not the rule, and nobody comes back to you when it didn't work, do they? And that's why so many people get in their head thinking, I can break the rules. I heard about somebody else that broke them. I don't need to do things the right way. I don't need to do things the legal way.
Well, right? Here's the way I say it. It's like, it's not so much like I don't need to follow the rules, but I think at least for me, it's like, I know I'm taking a risk. So there's still a very good chance that it may or may not work. So I was just like, they didn't even believe it themselves. Like 1,547 days, like that doesn't even make sense. Like clearly there's something wrong with the system. So I was just like, I came here like a couple weeks ago. Like, you think? I was like, I mean, I would show you, but my passport was stolen. He's like, do you have your old one? I was like, no, I don't have it. And he's like, wait here. And he went back into the little back office. They went to the back office. The guy was like going through the stuff and he's like, did you leave? I was like, yeah. It's like, well, show me how you left. I'm like, I don't have anything. He's like, can you just show me something? And I was like, I don't have it. Like, I can't show you my old passport. And before I was even illegal, I tried to go the legal route. I was going to make a border run to Argentina. I went and asked for an extension so I can catch the flight. Went through the formal process with the Policia Federal, and I showed them my flight. So, but it turned out that the flight, that was one of my first hard lessons here in Rio, in Brazil, that they don't accept your international credit card on these Brazilian travel sites. So they gave me, here, your flight is confirmed. Here's your confirmation number. Just go up to the thing. And then apparently at the bottom of the email, it said, your flight isn't confirmed. It's only confirmed pending your payment. They didn't approve my payment because they didn't trust my card. So I arrived at the airport looking dumb, trying to look for my flight, and they said it doesn't exist. So the way I saw it, I was like, listen, went to you guys. You saw that I have a flight. You approved this. And they're like, we have no record of this. And I'm just like, so can you guys like talk to your people? And they're just like, no, like, do you have anything else? And honestly, the email account that I did book that flight with, I don't have access to it anymore. So I was like, I have nothing. There's like, well,
So you know what happened? That dude went in the back, and you think he was talking to his boss about, hey, can we help this young woman?
no, he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah, they was back there cracking up saying, watch, she gonna try some bullshit with us. Watch this, watch this.
No,
Watch
not
this.
even. Like, listen, that guy was more upset than I was. He's like, I don't want to do this. Like, I really don't. Like, this is a lot. He's like,
So what did they fine you?
10,000 reais,
Which is about 2,000 US dollars.
$2,000, give or take.
Now, I'll tell you why that hurt. Well, hold on, let me do this. Hold on, let me do some quick self-aggrandizement here. For the people watching, and I'm usually a lot more subtle about it, like, this is why you need me and my company. And I say this because people have asked me why. I don't need to have a professional do this. I know people that come and go from Brazil all the time. Great. But if you don't have all this stuff done before you need it, you've got a problem. People to do the visa, residency, people to do the CPF number, people to do your SUS health card, all those things that you won't realize you need until you need it, and being there illegally, meaning somebody who overstayed their visa doesn't get access to it. And I tell people that all the time, and this is probably one of the few times I'm gonna be like strong arm about this shit. If you're thinking about coming to Brazil legitimately, call me. My team does this. Even if you say, you know what, I don't believe you're the only person that can do that. Fine, shop around. Make sure you find someone who has the experience that I do, and someone, and here's another thing I tell people to look at. Find somebody who comes well referenced. You can go to my LinkedIn and find people all over who are willing to say under their professional name, he does what he says he does. He's legit. Pay this man. And I say that because it broke my heart. I always told you that I thought, and I'm gonna get my ass kicked for this next statement. I thought you were bigger than Rio de Janeiro. I'm going to say some things to qualify that statement, and you stop me if I'm wrong. Okay. I feel that Rio de Janeiro is a one-trick pony. It's got some great beaches and nightlife, but that's it. Sao Paulo is where the money is, where you can wake up, have Brazilian breakfast, coffee, and toast. Then we can go to the Museum of Art Sao Paulo and see an art exhibition from a Congolese sculptor. And then at lunch, go to a Japanese restaurant and eat lunch cooked by a Japanese guy. And then in the early afternoon, go to the Museum Institute of Light and Sound and see an exploration of the progress of film through the ages in different countries. And then go eat dinner at a Lebanese, one of my favorite Lebanese. I took you to that Lebanese restaurant, didn't I?
We went to the Italian place.
Okay, yeah. One of my favorite Italian restaurant, cooked by actual, and it's go home, take a shower. Then after that, we can go hang out on the street. Remember when you were like, we can just sit on the street out here? And I was like, yeah, can't you do that in Rio? You were like, no, you'll get robbed. we all sat down outside and just had some chicken and juice on the street. And she was like, hell no, I can't do it out in Rio. Now, here's the thing. You would have had so much more opportunity, I believe, to succeed professionally in Sao Paulo. And the thing that breaks my heart, I would love for you to give Brazil another chance because I know you want to come back. You can't even say, listen, you keep saying here, like you're still living there. Mm-hmm. I'd love for you to pay that fine and come back and give Sao Paulo an opportunity. You could work for me. I know you legitimately love to do your work. I know you legitimately care about what you do. I have several companies I could hire you into, but you got to do things the right way. And if you can, for me, I personally, I have my my RJ card because I'm a legitimate professional. I'm a legal, full-time, permanent resident of Brazil. I can come and go as I please, buy investments here. I'm in the investment market here, blah, 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 blah. But, these people don't understand. Thank you, Jeffrey, for giving me a pound on that one. People don't understand that you may bump into an opportunity after learning the language, right? And thank you for learning the language. A lot of people tell me, oh, I went to Brazil and I lived there for a year and it was awful. And I asked them, what were you doing? I was trying to get a job and I was trying to start my company. And I was like, well, who were you talking to? And they were like, well, I was talking to, what companies were you talking with? Well, it was hard to talk to the companies. Why was it hard to talk to the companies? Well, my Portuguese ain't that good. Really? So you went to another country and didn't learn the language. You didn't even try. You don't even have to be fluent. But I'm a big advocate of Pimsleur. Hey, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Be sure to share this, please. But people don't understand that if you just learn the fundamentals, the rest will come. People ask me all the time, YusefWateef, If Portuguese hard to learn, I tell them it doesn't matter. I got my PEMSER course, and I did it because I wanted to live in Brazil. If you want to do it, you do. Because you've invested a lot of time out here. Would you ever consider coming back?
Yeah, I would. I mean, honestly, the other thing was my first plan with Brazil, it was never to like stay here forever, stay there forever. Like I had Colombia on my list and I had Panama on my list. So I just felt like I would leave when I felt complete. But just like what you said about Rio, I'll put it like this. Rio, I feel like every person needs 3 basic things to feel complete in life. You need relationships. That can be romantic or just platonic friendships. You need, of course, everybody needs money or finances. They need that to be set. And I think they just need fulfillment. My relationships fluctuated so much, like, with being in Rio, everybody's in and out. It's like a revolving door of having to make friendships or relationships. I already said dating wasn't working for me, but so it's like every couple months I have to like start reinvesting in a new friendship. It's tiring. And then I'm back without a friend.
That's one of those social differences between Rio and Sao Paulo. Nobody accidentally ends up in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is where you get those people who are serious about their shit. And
they made the decision to be in Sao Paulo versus like Rio. I just want to backpack, or I'm just traveling through, just want to spend a couple weeks, couple months. I get a lot of that in Rio. I do meet a lot of amazing people that way. I learn a lot of amazing people that way. But again, it's tiring because like for the first couple of years, just like I said, my whole Brazil experiences was based off of who I associated myself with. And so sometimes when I finally got to a point like, wow, I don't have anybody here. And so like, what am I doing here? And I felt empty. I was like, I really kind of need to establish my own identity in Rio. And once I did that, and the experience kind of went to a different level for me. But so relationships, that was kind of low. It wasn't the best, always up and down, up and down. Then the next thing was finances. Everybody knows Rio is not the place for money. Like I've been able to maintain myself, but again, who wants to just live their life just maintaining? Who wants to live their life just staying where they are? Like I anticipated growing, having a little bit more to claim to myself besides like renting a room in an apartment. I wanted to have things of my own. And, the way that my finances were, it was great for me in my beach life. I was still able to do what I want, go to restaurants and stuff. But in terms of growth, maybe having like a nest egg set aside, or even again, having things of my own, I wasn't getting there. So then next thing, but my fulfillment through the roof. Like anytime I could even have a bad day, I could just look outside. I see the mountains, I see the buildings, I see the beach, that view. It's like, I needed that. I loved it. And for me, it kind of balanced it for a long time. It just seemed to make it all worth it. And then finally, I really just had to be real with myself. Maybe you need to take a step back until maybe you won't love a place as much as you love Rio, but you can go find somewhere that has a better balance of those things that you need.
And that's the thing. You gotta.
So yeah, I love Rio. I would consider going back there, but I know deep down, like long-term, Rio's probably not the city for me. I still owe myself Salvador. Like I remember I've been planning for a year to go to Salvador. Like every year I was like, I'm supposed to leave Rio, go to Salvador. And that never happened. I just got to a point where it's like, I just wanted to see my family.
And that's the thing, I would say to you, I would contend that if you came back to Brazil, go have some time in Rio, go have some time in Salvador, make your base in Sao Paulo, because, and again, I say this from a completely capitalist situation, and Steve, I want you to email me your phone number, and if anybody wants to email me about anything, catch me on my email, I'll catch you there. You could take a couple of months in Sao Paulo and you could make a serious bankroll in 1 year in Sao Paulo.
But you remember my little setup in Rio? I left on a really good note. Like had a nice little, my students were pretty nice. I had a nice grade of students.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem. And we don't need to tap your purse on this. Your good month profit and revenue ain't Sao Paulo good month profit and revenue.
It's not the same.
It's not even, you're not going to get even close. You're not even going to get even close. Because here's the problem. Here's where all the money and businesses and education are. There are some great universities in Salvador, I know that. But when people get their education and they decide to go make some money and spend some money, they're coming to Sao Paulo. Why? Because we have every amenity there is possibly to have.
It was worse.
know?
It's like Salvador is like like people from Salvador go to Rio for opportunities. So it's like definitely Salvador is not the place to go for money at all. But no,
And
means
that's the other thing. I mean, I look at it this way: when I hang up my axe, when I'm ready to put my axe over the mantelpiece, I'm done out there killing monsters. I will go to Salvador, buy a little place by the water,
relax.
But while you still in that, I'm grizzly. I'm out here trying to make it rain. I'm just enjoying like Scrooge McDuck and DuckTale, just rolling around in my money because I'm still at an age in my life where I can just have a whole lot of fun with it. You got to come to Sao Paulo for that. That's where the action is.
Yeah. I think everybody, like, there's a difference. Like, it's even with the expat. Yeah, especially with the expats. There's a difference in the person that goes to Rio. There's a difference in the person that goes to Salvador. There's a difference in the people that go to Sao Paulo. Like, everybody know, a lot of the people that went to Sao Paulo, they have like, want to accomplish this. I still want to do this. I got goals I'm trying to accomplish, hustle and grind. They're a little bit more work oriented, business oriented. They still trying to hit the pavement. People in Salvador, they're kind of hippie-ish, like on an eat, pray, love, spiritual earth vibes.
Hippies, don't say that.
They're the good hippies. Like, we have modern day hippies now. Like, they just go there like peace and blessings, all this, like, really want to identify with their blackness. And Rio people, they just want to chill. Like, they party and chill. That's the Rio crowd.
Who really appreciates the content that I've been putting out. Make sure you share this. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. What are you doing well, hold on. We got one quick question specifically for you from Brother Howard. How long did it take you to learn Portuguese?
How long did it take me to learn Portuguese? When I first got there, I spoke Spanish, so that helped me a lot. But it took me at least, I wouldn't say like a year until I felt like proud of myself that I was able to go out and buy bread, and have an exchange.
Now, here's the thing, right? Don't give this away, right? For people that speak Portuguese, it's real important to be able to order bread. And if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. If
yeah.
And it's not right. When you go out to buy that loaf of bread, you're going to get an angry surprise.
Yeah, they making some looks that you.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
But you know. But yeah, it took me like a year, but also I will attribute it, like I did meet somebody. So like texting and communicating with somebody regularly, like definitely helped a lot. Like my Portuguese was so choppy, and I mean, like I just definitely threw myself out there. Now I did sign up for one of those language courses in Rio. That's pretty popular. A lot of people get their student visas through them. But I did the conversation courses, and I can't say I did it like expecting to like accelerate or like get really far with my Portuguese. I also did it to kind of help meet some people because, again, all I had was all my friends' jiu-jitsu friends. I wanted to make my own friends. So I did that, and I did the course, and I met a couple people. Of course, they left, but most of it was like hands-on, and it took me like a good year for me before I felt okay. And then ever since that year was like just been fine-tuning, perfecting, learning the slangs, the gírias, and like helping with my accent and expanding, my comfort with speaking.
And that's the other thing, you can't be soft about it. When you do, you got to go and you got to make those friends.
I will say that, like, when I went to the Dominican Republic, granted, I was younger. I know it's easier for younger people to learn another language, but I was there for 10 months and I spoke fluent. Like, by the time I left, like, they didn't even know. Like, I had to argue with people and tell them that I wasn't from there. That's how good my Spanish got. But I was with a host family. My whole life was 24/7 in Spanish. Here in Brazil, unfortunately, I spoke a lot of English, and I still do. I still did. Like, up until towards the end. Like, I know within 4.5 years, I could have been. Listen, I should have been arguing with people about how I'm really not from there, but I spoke a lot of English between teaching, and also like a lot of my friendship circles were a lot of expats as well.
See, I put myself in a situation where my entertainment I'm getting in Portuguese. When I go out, I only operate in Portuguese, but what'll happen is this. Let's say I go somewhere and I don't know, I see a guy who's got a booth and he's got a bunch of comic book shirts. And I'll walk up and I'll ask him, "Você tem regatas grande? Gigi?" He'll say, "English? No, Portuguese. English? No, Portuguese." And he'll stop, like, go get his sister and make her come over and speak. And I'm like, no, Portuguese. And they're like, "No, I can speak English with you." "No, I want to speak Portuguese." And then we start arguing. I'm getting exhausted. I'm like, fuck. Okay,
like,
fine.
there goes your opportunity to practice. Like, but again, this is the beauty of me living in the favela. I did not have that. There was like a handful of people. Every now and then there's actually some really amazing people up there that have taught themselves English, but it's not like saying I go out to the street or I go out to LeBlanc and go to the restaurant and they hear a little bit of an accent. They're like, "English, you want English?" I'm like, "No." But then I had to calm down a lot, just as much as I want to practice my Portuguese, I at least live in Brazil. There's more opportunities for me to practice, whereas though they don't get those opportunities to practice. So I had to calm down and just let them have their moment. But in the favela, there was none of that. And that was interesting too. That was another thing. The other guy who asked about me learning Portuguese, I had to learn two types of Portuguese simultaneously. Favela Portuguese and street Portuguese is not the same. So
Well, see, because of the upbringing I had, I was never allowed to learn anything other than pure, university level English, which is one of my companies is an English teaching company. And my teachers teach business owners and they teach politicians and they teach people who are going to go on television in English because they're willing to pay top dollar for someone who can teach them university level English. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, do you have a job in the United States?
I work remotely as a recruiter, as a contractor. I'm a contractor.
You happy with it, or do you want to work for me? Make your next move, girl.
Let's talk.
Get on board with a real winner.
Get on the winning team.
The winning team.
Yeah, I do recruiting part-time. It was a nice little stipend. It did well for me while I was in Brazil. Not sure about what it'll do in the US. But, yeah, the way I see it, I'm like, I just got back and still just getting situated. I'm not fully situated. Like, I'm here. I'm not angry about me being here, but it's like, wow, like you're here. You're here. So once I finally get past that, I think I'll probably get a little bit more aggressive about, all right, what's my next move? How am I going to make this happen, etc.
I will tell you this, and I've been dealing with this with a lot of clients. If you're going to make a move, try to make it as soon as possible because more doors are closing than opening internationally.
Mm.
You don't want to be in a situation where the country you go to doesn't want to accept you or the United States becomes a place where you want to leave fast. There is never, as you said earlier, there's never going to be a perfect time.
Yeah, there really isn't a perfect time for anything. I don't know. I like to consider myself a little for me, I don't really just kind of like how my mentality was with Brazil. Just go for it. The worst that can happen is you die. That's like my attitude towards life. Unless I'm dead, I can't be stopped from accomplishing anything.
That's how you make a decision. They think
pretty
I'm out
much.
Here.
Honestly, pretty much this is how I move. Like obstacles, I anticipate them. I anticipate obstacles. So sometimes I'm not really deterred by what ifs. I anticipate a what if to happen. I expect it to happen, but I really pride myself in my agility to work around these things. It may not get exactly that, but I will still accomplish my initial goal. So say if my initial goal was to not live in the United States, maybe one country may be closed, but there might be another one. I'm like, hey, I didn't consider it, but I'm still going to get up out of here. So like I said, unless I'm dead, I'm not going to, y'all can't stop me.
Read what Brother Craig said.
I know. Yeah, and I'm in DC too. Like the second I landed, then there's like a whole siege on the Capitol. I'm just like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm here. I'm always present, but I'm not really actually present. Like I see the stuff happening around me, but then it's still like, how yeah, it sucks. It's terrible. But how is this individually affecting me from accomplishing whatever it is that I need to do? I push forward through life in that type of way. So I see it, but unless it has a direct impact on me, I'm still going to go about my business.
And see, that's one of those things where I'm so glad I left. Like, I'm in a situation right now. I'm writing my mother another letter. One of the things about me and my mom is I love writing my mom letters because it's still something like talking on the phone. We can get into what I like to call excited discussions. Yeah. But when I was really young, one of my cousins said, if you write a letter, she's going to lose a lot of that steam by the time you call her. Because my mother and I have been having this battle of attrition. Like, I'm not going back home, and she doesn't want to leave. And I'm like, well, one of us is going to be very disappointed, and it's not me. My dad is dead. I'm an only child. And I'm like, so.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, my mom put enough pressure on me as it is, and I'm not an only child. So I can imagine.
Yeah. It's that's a whole different kettle of fish. Well, here's the thing I'll say, and I'll give you guys some, by the way, thanks to everybody who's been chiming in, and I hope everybody has been enjoying this. I want to show you guys something else that I've done that I've had the time to do since my business has started out here. For those of the people watching, some of you are already involved, some of you know, some of you don't know, but I have a Patreon, and on the Patreon, we have a group, a community where most of what we talk about here is a lot less fun than doing things on what's it called, on YouTube. What's the thing? I always tell people to join my Patreon. It's more business. Speaking of international travel, starting our own businesses, entrepreneurship, how we, the men that are in that group and a woman, we talk about our individual businesses we started and help other people get into those businesses, how we leveraged our money, how we do different investments. But I always say it's more business and less fun. I want to be clear. This is a place where we're not having big goofy conversations. This is a place where we're on a mission, and that mission is greed. We're people who start our own businesses. We're the men who understand how to invest. We're the guys sitting around enjoying the cryptocurrency, and no one does it alone. Mm. And that's what the Patreon is for people who want to be part of that, and I tell people, it's not a place you go for jokes and giggles. You can come here for jokes and giggles, not there. So let me do this. I want to say thank you for sharing that story with us. And I want
you for having me.
Well,
I like sharing.
You're welcome anytime. The last time I think you came on, you had on you had your hair under your hair. You had on a do-rag.
Listen, I didn't have my bundles in. Got it. Like, I needed a hood on.
Well, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to click goodbye to everybody. You and I are going to stay backstage and talk for a quick second. What do you want to say? You want to give these guys a final goodbye? Anything you want to tell them?
Thanks for listening. Like, this is my first time on here. You guys made me feel super welcome. If you guys have any like Rio specific questions or anything else, feel free to hit me up on my Instagram.
Okay. Having said that, Cicero asked a question. We are not even going down that road today.
That's another one.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you.